guys, what's happening? Thanks for watching, tuning in, all that stuff. I appreciate it. Hope you're having an awesome day. And I went for a walk in the woods, as I guess you kind of have seen already in this video. And I was just gonna like walk around and maybe practice filming a little bit. And I decided there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. And primarily what I wanted to talk about was, I've been thinking a lot because it's a new year, and you know, when the calendar turns over, people naturally start thinking of like, what can I do different or better this year? And so I'm doing the same thing about my photography, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you. And these are basically 3 tips I have for making the most of your photography in 2019. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, now I should clarify that when I'm talking about these tips, I don't want to act as though like I know everything about photography, because I clearly don't. I learn stuff all the time. I read stuff all the time. I'm always investing in myself and trying to get better, and I just like to share ideas that I have here. So feel free to agree or disagree with what I'm about to say. And by all means, leave me some feedback. Let me know what your thoughts are. And other tips that you have you want to share with the community, just drop them in the comments down below, and everybody can see them. That'll be great. So tip number 1 is to slow down, right? I'm often showing up at a place and I'm like, like a giddy as a schoolgirl kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be so great. I'm gonna take a photo of this and that and that and that. And I just get excited and I start taking photos, and I don't always think about what I'm taking a photo of other than, wow, that's awesome looking, let me take a photo of it. And so trying to encourage myself to slow down a little bit, take it easy, and think more about the shots, not just, as they say, spray and pray, but rather, be thoughtful and just, put some forethought basically into the shot I want to take and what's going to look best, because I take a lot of photos when I'm out, but they don't always look good, and I share the better ones. Sometimes they're, I think quite good, and sometimes they're okay, and sometimes I get a lot of junk, to be honest. And I think it's because I'm in a hurry and I'm just looking to take photos and take photos and take photos because I'm out taking photos, and instead I'm trying to tell myself to slow down, take it easy, think about what I want to include in the frame and what I want to exclude from the frame. And so what that really means is the bigger picture of composition, right? What's my composition? What story is it telling? How's it lining up on the rule of thirds grid, if I like to use that? Or if you're into the golden ratio, you can read about those online if you're not familiar. But how do I think about these things? How do I structure a composition that's going to be pleasing, instead of just, hey, I went out and I took a bunch of photos and I'm bound to have a couple that are good. Instead, I want to go out and be thoughtful about it, slow down, spend time thinking about how I'm shooting, what I'm shooting, and get photos that I like. So that's really tip number 1, is really slow down, take it easy, don't hurry through it, and just take the photos that are meaningful and have some thought behind them. So hopefully that helps you. And then also another component of that for me is using the crop tool when I'm in Luminar, for example, which is where I spend most of my time. Whether you use Lightroom or On1 or whatever, they all have crop tools. So that's another way to impact your composition, because I often find that I'm out shooting something and I'm like, okay, this looks great through the viewfinder, but when you're looking at it on your computer, it may not look quite as good. And so I'll often go into the crop tool and readjust things. I might go for a square crop. A lot of times I'm going for a 16:9. Maybe I just want to do a, I don't know, something else, 16:10 or a 5:4, whatever. The point is, you can adjust your composition to a certain extent in post by using the crop tool, and that's something else that I think of when I'm out shooting. Sometimes I might be shooting at the wide angle and I'll get a lot of stuff in, and then I might crop it down a little bit when I get back home. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Now tip number 2 is to take a lot of photos. Now that may sound a little contradictory to what I just said, which was slow down and be thoughtful. But I'm a big fan of taking a lot of photos, because I think that you get better at something if you do something a lot. And what I mean by that is take a lot of photos, but think about them. So don't just race through and take a lot of photos and come home and say, wow, I took a lot of photos, I must be getting better. Instead, I try to I think of them, or think through them, I should say, and try to take meaningful photos, right? At the same time, I want to take as many as I can when I'm out, because it's practice and practice and practice that makes you better. One of my favorite quotes is by, I believe it's Henri Cartier-Bresson, and I'm not sure I pronounced that correct. My French is muy mal, that's Spanish, sorry. His quote is that your first 10,000 photographs are your worst. And I love that quote, and it really means a lot, which is, in some ways, is like, you don't maybe even know what you're doing until you've taken a good 10,000 photos or more, and therefore they're your worst. However, the flip side of that is, as I said a moment ago, don't go racing through the first 10,000, just spraying and praying. just to get 10,000 under your belt, because all of a sudden, hey, I hit that, got my chin over that bar of 10,000, and all of a sudden I'm a better photographer. It is thoughtful, meaningful practice, just like, Michael Jordan practicing jump shots or whatever it is. You see people all the time that maybe golfers, and they're standing around maybe in the office and they're doing a practice swing. That's practice, right? Even if you don't have your camera, you can get this out. Get your iPhone or your Android, whatever it is you shoot with. You've got a mobile device that has a camera. Take photos, or just line up and take, pretend to take a photo, thinking about composition, which goes back to the first point that I talked about. But there's a way to practice all the time, even if you don't have your gear. You can even do this, where you could be somewhere and you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I mean, how many times have you done that? You're like, oh yeah, that's cool. I do that as well. And so it's just, again, it's thinking about photography and practicing photography, even if you didn't lug all your gear around. So that's tip number 2, is just take a lot of photos, but just make sure that they're meaningful. And tip number 3 is just to experiment relentlessly. Just try stuff. If you're a cityscape shooter, go shoot landscapes. Vice versa. If you generally shoot landscapes, walk through a city. If you like to shoot with your wide angle, get a prime lens on. Or if you like a zoom lens, get a prime. Or if you only shoot with primes, get a zoom. If you only shoot handheld, get a tripod and try long exposures, because you probably haven't tried that if you don't have a tripod. Just mix up your subject matter, right? If you shoot cityscapes like me, take some portraits, right? You saw me doing some of that in my previous vlog where I was out doing some street photography. That's not really portrait work, but it's a genre or a subject matter that, I don't do a lot of, and so I'm trying to work on that. And so just get out there and experiment. There's a lot of things that you can experiment with. Try different gear. Maybe take just your iPhone out. If you generally drag a DSLR, or if you, as I said, switch lenses, maybe switch software. Like I use Luminar all the time, but I still get in Lightroom and mess around and do things in Lightroom, because I think it's good for me, and it's good for my brain to keep it from getting stagnant, for lack of a better word, right? You get in these sort of routines where you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go do this, and you stand there and you shoot it, and then when it's time to edit, you do the basic editing that you do. Mix things up, change things, experiment. Just stop, don't stop evolving and changing and risking, taking creative risks, pushing yourself to new areas or new techniques. All that stuff is great for building sort of your creative muscle, because it'll come in handy sometime when you need to sort of flex that creative muscle, and you say, oh yeah, I've done this before, I can do that, or I haven't done that before, let me try it. And you feel confident because you've tried other things that you've been able to learn and adapt to. So just keep experimenting, experiment ruthlessly, experiment a lot, and keep trying and growing, because it's really about photography and having fun and enjoying the process, and I think that's a great way to do it. And really, I do have a bonus tip. I know I start talking about photography and I just want to keep talking, but I have a bonus tip, and so this is tip number 4, your bonus tip, and that is have fun and just relax, because it is photography. It's an art form, it's a form of self-expression, it's an escape for a lot of us. It's not life, life-threatening, or, it's not that critical. You should be able to go out and just have fun, and just for the love of the photograph and photography itself, and just enjoying the art. Maybe enjoy being in nature, maybe enjoy walking in a city. Just relax and take it easy, and don't put pressure on yourself. Like I've gone out many times and I feel like I'm clenching my fists almost, where I'm like, oh my God, I got to get some great photos. And this especially happens when I travel, because I might have 3 days or 1 day in a place, and I'm like, gotta do it. But I find that when I relax and just kind of get into the creative flow and just take it easy on myself, that I do get into that creative flow, and I can more easily and more creatively, craft photos that I like, and that's rewarding. And so take it easy on yourself, right? It's not mission critical. Having said that, there are many of you, I'm sure, that shoot professionally, and you have clients and they send you out on an assignment and you have to get the right image. That's probably different. I'm speaking more in general terms to those of us that may be out shooting for fun, like I'm out for a walk in the woods. I'm gonna take a few photos as well, but it's just for fun, to be honest. And you know what? It's nice to just like sort of take off the shackles of responsibility and just kind of go and just say, I'm gonna go take it easy and have fun, because really that's what it's about. Like if you're not having fun out doing photography, I feel like there's something wrong there. And so that's really bonus tip, or tip number 4, is just relax, have a good time, enjoy it. I hope you have a super productive 2019. I'm going to try to do the same. I'm going to do new things. I talked about that a moment ago. This is a new thing for me, trying to do more vlogs and talk about subject matter that I haven't really addressed in my channel before, but I hope you enjoy it. It's fun for me to talk about. I hope you enjoy it enough that you join in on the conversation, leaving comments below. Hit subscribe, like, share with your friends if you think this was helpful. And I'll see you again real soon, my friends. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. Take care, and adios.